Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to share with you why building a $1 million brand is actually on easy mode in 2025 and how you can actually scale your e-commerce brand to a million a year and then a million a month very easily. As you can see, this doesn't come from me just dreaming about what could be cool. This actually comes from real spend. This is spent over the last 6 months of all the brands in my portfolio, which are across multiple different niches like beauty, health, dog supplies, cleaning. We have a bunch of different e-commerce brands here. But I want to jump in straight away into what is really the way to go about this. So number one thing is really that you you are 100% clear on what is your hero product, right? So this is the first thing that I see a lot of brands struggle with. They actually don't know what is their hero product, right? And maybe you have a bunch of products, right? So let's say you have a product portfolio of like 5 to 10 products, okay? So each of these products is a potential hero product, okay? Now, the problem with that is that you don't have, most likely don't have the budget, definitely don't have the bandwidth and team to make all of these products work at the same time, right? So, and this is really like something that I help many founders to do that. And it's really the first thing that we do once you join is that we make sure that we're 100% clear on the hero product, because all of the other stuff is just there's so many steps involved into making this one product work. It's impossible to do it for multiple products at the same time. It's way easier to do it for one, scale this product up, and then until the point where you see diminishing returns, and then you can add the next product. But you already have the whole process. Okay. So instead of having all of these products at 10%, you actually want to have one product at 100%, okay? And this as fast as possible. So it doesn't mean that you will never come back to these other products, but for the time being, you will thank me later when you do this. Just focus on one product, because, and this is a big because, to get to 10 million a year, you only need one product, right? One product will get you there. And your job, the first job, is to figure out what is that product, okay? So how can you find this hero product, okay? Once you understood this, okay, then the question is, okay, how to get to this hero product? So one thing that I like to look at is the sales last 90 days. Depends on your volume a little bit. If you have lower volume, then you would have like a longer time frame. And you only look at first timers, okay? First timers, okay? So people that have that made their first purchase, okay? If you want like the step-by-step guide to get to this, just DM me on Instagram. I have my Instagram profile linked down below, and I can send you the internal resource. But it's essentially just a report on Shopify where you can filter for first timers, okay? And what this tells you is what are people that have never bought before, never purchased before on my store, what do they purchase, okay? Now, two things that I look for. Obviously, what kind of product, and also sometimes people already purchase bundles, which is super interesting, right? So you will see, so basically I'm looking for high AOV, okay? Because this is a big misconception that a lot of brand founders have, is that, yeah, people don't know the brand, so they most likely won't spend a lot of money, but in reality, it's not true, right? I have a bunch of brands in the portfolio where the first time AOV is like 120, 130, right? For a brand that they never knew, they never bought from this brand before, but their first purchase are 160, 130, 150, right? So I'm looking for that because this is perfect, right? This is ideal because then I actually have room to spend money on a new customer, right? And I'm not trapped with like CPAs of $20 or $30. Okay, so this is very important. Now, another thing to actually look at is obviously the margin structure. Okay, margin structure. So you want to ideally you have an 80% gross margin or even more, right? Now, the reason why is that this gives you a lot of room to spend money on a customer and still make profits. Now, I know this is not always possible, and it depends also a little bit on the product, because some products are just like recurring products, so people come back and purchase, or you have a subscription. So we could overcomplicate all of this stuff, but to make it easy, like make sure that the product that you're mainly advertising gives you room to spend on a new customer. If you have like a great product and people love it and all of that is fine, but your margins are like, I don't know, 40% gross, this most likely won't work. It just won't work, right? Especially if you bundle the products and the gross margin comes down because you give some discount, and it just doesn't work. So it puts you in a position where it's already impossible to make it work. So don't do that. Choose a product that actually gives you the margins. If it's 70% or 65, whatever the case may be. But in your product portfolio, choose the one that gives you actually the most chances. And then obviously the last thing here is to also understand what's trending in the market, right? Where not only trending, but where is already a market for this product, right? So I actually like to sell in niches that are already saturated, where there's already movement, where I already see a bunch of people are purchasing this type of product, because then I can position my product, if it really is, as the better alternative, right? Now, if you have a product where there's no market, right, and nobody is purchasing these products, even if you have like a 90% margin, nobody will care. There's no market for that. Okay, so that's another big thing to look at. Essentially, market, margin, and what are people already purchasing. Okay, now once you've done that, once you've selected your product, then the next question becomes, who should I mainly sell to? Okay, so this is another big issue that I see that a lot of brands are making, is they try to sell their solution to everybody. Okay, so it's kind of like the product that can solve multiple pain points, and it's basically good for everything. This will not work, because what people are looking for, subconsciously, is they have a problem, and they have one problem that they're trying to solve, one main problem, and they're looking for the solution, right? So we're scrolling through, IG and Facebook and whatever the case may be. Yes, we might not be actively looking for something, but subconsciously we're looking like for stuff like women are looking for, how can I look younger, right? How can I reduce wrinkles? How can I get rid of my hair loss, right? How can I get rid of my shedding? So those are things that are, we worry about these things, and that's why we look for them subconsciously. But we're not looking for one solution that does it all necessarily, but we're looking for, a solution to a specific problem that we have. So when you look at your product, okay, there are most likely multiple use cases for your product, okay, and multiple problems, or I call them angles, for your product, okay. So very easy example is for example, when you have like some kind of face cream, and this face cream helps against wrinkles, it helps against dark spots, it helps against um, maybe irritated skin, right? And instead of saying that this is the wonderful cream that solves all of that, You rather want to talk to a specific pain point, right? So let's say age spots, right? And explain, like only talk to people that have this as their main concern, and then position your product as the perfect solution to this specific pain point. And then you can mention that it also helps with, other issues. But this is very important to have like a congruent sales funnel at the end of the day, where you have your person, and your person has like a concern, right? So this is basically the concern. This is my pain. And you tie your product, you basically start with the pain and then present your product as a solution to this exact pain, right? This is what actually sells. And this is very important because otherwise the sales message is just confusing, right? And people don't know if it really helps against the pain point that they're trying to solve. And yes, it's cool because it's helping against all the other stuff, but I don't really need that, right? And then you already lost them. So this is very, very important to identify who am I actually selling to. Another thing that why this is important is that, in some cases, these like the people behind each of the angles are actually very different people, right? They have different pain points, they're in different situations, and you want to, speak to their specific pains. Okay, so like another thing to add here is really, I mean, I already touched it here with funnel, but essentially is that just imagine how much more accurate you can do the whole experience when you know exactly who you're selling to. Imagine you would have like a physical store, and you would have your cream sitting on the shelves, and these three different peoples come into your store, right? How would you talk to them? Would you talk to each of them in the same way? Most likely not. Like you would talk to the person with dark spots. You would highlight the ingredients that help against dark spots, and are like where you have studies that are backing up the efficiency against dark spots. If somebody comes in and has a problem with wrinkles, then you would position your product in a different way. So why don't we do this also when we're talking to people online, right? So this is very, very important. Please don't do this like this product helps against everything, because that's where you're going to struggle, right? Again, same thing with the products. You can see we cut things down, and we will do the same with the angles, right? So instead of having like 5 different angles at the same time, choose the one where you see the best traction and then go all in on this angle, right? Because this brings us to the next step. Once we've done that, so basically we have the product, we have the angle. Now the question is, okay, what creative type actually works the best, right? And again, this is where I see a lot of things done wrong, where people just jump straight to, oh, it has to be UGC, okay? So we're just going to hammer a bunch of UGCs, for worst case multiple products with multiple angles, and then you're ending up with a hefty bill of creators, a huge pain when it comes to organizing this whole content process, running after creators, having them optimize the content because it doesn't fit your brand, all of that stuff. And it just takes a bunch of time, and you don't have that time, right? This is really a problem. You don't have that time, because in that time another brand just like runs you over, because they are focusing on one product, one angle, and identified quickly what are the creative types that are working. Okay, so our job is really to understand, okay, what is it that works in my case? In some cases UGC doesn't work as well. What works better in some cases is founder ads, for example, right? In some cases it's static ads. In some other cases it's short viral type ads. Okay, in other cases it's VSL, so longer videos that are like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes. So what I want to say is that there is no one size fits all, right? you really have to strategically and systematically test what is working for you. And what I can already tell you is that, without going too deep into this topic, I have a bunch of videos on this, is that ultimately you will have different types of ads that help you convert different funnel stages, right? So in almost all of the cases, it's not just one creative type, but it's one creative type that works best in top of funnel, right? And then it's another one that works best in middle of funnel, and it's another one that works best for bottom of funnel. So ultimately, it's a stack of creatives, okay? So this is very important. It's a stack of creatives that is going to help you to convert all funnel stages while consistently scaling your budgets, okay? Now, step 4, what numbers tell me if I'm actually winning? This is another big one because, again, a lot of brands, most of the brands most likely, they run around and they just focus on the return on ad spend in Meta, okay? And they're talking about attribution all the time, okay? So basically, okay, the return on ad spend in Google looks like this, the return on ad spend in Meta looks like this. And the point is that, like, they're missing out on just focusing on the KPIs that tell you if you're actually scaling your business or you're just like looking at a bunch of vanity metrics that look great or not great and just confuse you. Okay. So, what you want to look at is because we are in the business of acquiring customers. So, the only thing that really matters to us is everything that concerns new customers, right? I don't care like what my existing customers, like, yes, of course they will see the ads and stuff like that, but I'm looking to grow the business. I'm looking to grow the customer base. So what I'm looking at are new customer CPA, right? For example, which is the cost per new customer. Okay, so how much do I actually spend on a new customer? Okay. If I don't know that, and I'm just looking at the return on ad spend in Meta, which doesn't tell you this, even the cost per result in Meta doesn't tell you this, right? Then you're absolutely lost, right? And this is the point. Like, it's not necessarily about attribution. Like, you can get lost in attribution for years and still not grow your business, right? And it's really frustrating. I know, I talk to brand owners all the time. But at some point, also myself, I had to understand that the only thing that matters is, am I driving business growth or not? And this is a great measure to tell you that. New customer CPA, if you look at return on ad spend, you would look at the new customer return on ad spend. Whoops. Okay, for whatever reason, doesn't work. Okay, there you go. Is a new customer return on ad spend, right? So what's the return on ad spend on new customers? But this is not everything, okay? This is where most of the people stop, especially most of the agencies, they don't even care about this. Some agencies got this now, right? The new customer stuff. But what you as a business owner have to understand is, and this goes back to the point in the beginning, which sometimes you cannot know this in the beginning. You have to go down this route. You have to make one product work and then evaluate, is this actually the best product to continue to advertise? Because what you're then going to look at is the LTV, and at some point the lifetime value profit or lifetime profit to CAC ratio, okay, to new customer acquisition cost ratio. And this will tell you which of the products in your portfolio is actually the most attractive one to spend money on. And the crazy thing is that you might have products where the customer acquisition cost is higher, let's say it's 60, okay, versus you have other products where it might only be 35. But this product, let's say product A and product B might have such a low repurchase rate, and basically people are not coming back. Like, you're acquiring people for one purchase and they're gone, right? So when you look at their lifetime value after 6 months, it might be like, I don't know, 38. Okay. Whereas these people here, they might be at 110. So when you do the math for your business growth, it would actually make way more sense to just spend all of your money on this product, even though you're spending almost double the money to acquire a customer. Okay. And the crazy part is the return on ad spend on this product A might be lower than on the product B. And this is where most of the brands go wrong, and they find themselves in an endless circle of not being able to scale their acquisition because they did not understand the numbers. Okay, so that was like a crash course in what you should be looking for. But this gives you, everything you need in order to actually make it work. Okay, so don't forget the numbers. Last step: simple scales. You can see now, like, we're simplifying stuff, right? Our goal is always to evaluate, like, what are the different options, and then how can we cut most of the options to just have one thing to double down on, focus on, and then we have the same thing for the angles, we have the same things for the creative types, right? We have the same things for the numbers. So finally, things get very, very simple. And this is one, like, those were just a couple of examples. Another example is also the ad account, right? So you have to think, and this like the same way I do. Scaling an e-commerce is tough. It's tough. It's not so, and I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's the easiest thing in the world. No, even if you understand these things, it's still tough because there's always challenges when it comes to cash flow, when it comes to forecasting, when it comes to stuff getting out of stock, bestsellers getting out of stock. There's so many things that can happen and happen, and you don't want to overcomplicate something that is already complicated, right? So it's like one very, very important principle here is actually simplicity. And this goes through all of the steps in your whole business, in your whole e-commerce. And yeah, just another one is the ad accounts, right? Simplify stuff. Don't do these complicated multi-campaign setups where you need a PhD to understand what's going on, and you need like half an hour or an hour to even like understand like where you're spending your money. It's total nonsense. Right? You don't need that. And as long as there are brands that are scaling with one single campaign, which all of my brands in my portfolio are doing. They only have one campaign and they scale with one campaign for every business objective, right? So if you have multiple products, then it makes sense to have multiple campaigns. But in the most of the cases, it's just one campaign, right? And that's it. You don't need more. As long as you have brands that are scaling up to 1 million a month using this structure, and you're not at 1 million a month, there's no, like, you shouldn't be doing anything else, right? So this forces you to just focus on creatives, right? Focus on the funnel and focus on understanding the numbers, right? KPIs. And this is really what will help you to stand out and to actually surpass your competition while they don't even know what's going on. Okay. So I gave you the 5 steps. Make sure to go through all of them and implement them into your e-commerce. If you want more, let's say, structure, support, mentorship when it comes to that, this is exactly what I do for brand owners that want to get to their first 100K, that want to get from their 100K per month to 500K and a million a month, right? And that want to take things in house, right? To basically be, independent from agencies or external, service providers. So yeah, if you thought this was interesting and actually this is what I need, I don't want this whole confusion. It doesn't have to be so complicated. Then click the first link in the description And check out my video where I explain who I help and how I help people. And if you see yourself in that, then go ahead and book a call with me and my team, and then we find out if and how we could help. But the most important thing is that you get this concept and yeah, and apply it. All right. So any questions you have, shoot me at a DM on IG, and also in the comments here. And chat soon. Thanks for listening and watching.